Bonjour à tous et bonjour à toutes. Ben voilà, on y est dans ce documentaire. Je reçois un invité de marque, comme je vous l'ai dit tout à l'heure en introduction. C'est un gros invité. Je suis vraiment honoré d'avoir cet invité avec nous. Donc je vais le faire rentrer directement dans la room, parce que là il doit se demander ce que j'ai dit puisque je parle français. Donc à partir de maintenant, I will switch in English for my guests to understand what I'm saying. So, hi, Steve. How are you?
Doing well. How are you?
I'm very good. It's really an honor to have you on my podcast. It's such an honor because I've been following you like for so many years right now. I've been in the old forum like long time ago when I was living in Canada.
Okay.
So for me, it's such a pleasure to have you with us. We won't have to introduce you, as I told you. I made a big introduction of your side, of yourself, and all of your work all those years. I told them that if Superman were Jesus, you were the Pope.
That's a very nice. I've never been introduced that way, so that's wonderful. Thank you very much. It's an honor to be on your podcast and your show. So I appreciate you inviting me to be on tonight.
Okay, so yeah, my podcast is all around, the Superman character. As I told you, in France, it's really hard because here in France, first of all, we have like a lack of knowledge about comics. I've been a huge comics reader since I'm 6 or 7. My dad was like a big Superman reader, right? And I had the chance that he introduced me to the comics. But here in France, Superman, I've been introduced to the big public with the movies, with like the 1978 Christopher Reeves movies or cartoons. We didn't have the chance. I remember when I was young and I was going to United States, I could watch like the Ruby Spears Superman TV show.
Yeah.
And we didn't have that in France. Here in France, it was all about manga, Japanimation, and all this stuff. So it's really hard because a lot of people have been introduced to the character with Bruce Timm show or Superman like Christopher Reeves and stuff like that. So here we have like not arguments, but we are talking about like the vision of the character.
Mm-hmm.
Most of all, since we had like the Man of Steel, Henry Cavill version.
Mm-hmm.
So my first question for you. So what is your favorite version of Superman? Because I guess you have been reading all the comics, seen everything. So what is your favorite version of Superman?
This is a little bit controversial because a lot of people immediately go to either the comic books or the Christopher Reeve movies or Man of Steel or anything like. My favorite version of the character is the 1940s radio series starring Bud Collyer as the voice of Superman. For me, it's just iconic. Hearing Bud Collyer voice both the Clark Kent role and the Superman role. So much of what we know from the Superman lore comes from the radio series. Perry White, Jimmy Olsen, Kryptonite, they were all created for the radio series. And some of the iconic things like Up, Up and Away, came from the radio series. So for me, it's really a nostalgic thing. But obviously, I wasn't born back then. But listening to the MP3 files that are available on the internet, I've just got a really soft spot for Bud Collyer's version of the character in the radio series.
Yeah, but the advantage of this version is that it's on the radio, so you can make your own Superman in your head.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, you're smart. So you. Okay. Yeah. I didn't have the chance to read all of them. I checked some on the internet. Sometimes it's true. Like this, like the actor was changing his voice when he was Clark Kent and Superman. That was really great.
Yes.
I remember some of them. Yeah. That the advantage is you don't have to pick like a version of Superman because there is so many all over the years. They are always doing some reset reboots, like the New 52, like the John Byrne 1986 Man of Steel. It's like a reboot too after the crisis. Okay, so what do you think about the Henry Cavill version of Superman? Because for the first time we have like like a build bodybuilder Superman on screen. We have like a darker tone, like we can see his alien part more than his human part, and he has this question like, yeah, he's going go through some tribulations, even in Batman v Superman. What do you think about this aspect of Superman?
I'm a big fan of Henry Cavill's version of Superman in the way that he portrays it. Not necessarily the stories that were told in the film, but I think Henry Cavill's got a great look. I like the costume. The brighter, the better for me. I don't mind the trunks were gone. I like the design of the costume. I like the way that Henry portrayed the character. And Man of Steel was a great story in a modern context. What would happen if aliens did come to this planet? How would we react? We wouldn't immediately just be trusting and immediately just take him in and embrace him and say, yes, he says he's for truth, justice, and the American way, so let's, he must be 100% real and honest. There would be doubters. I mean, we're going through a pandemic in the world where there's people who want to get vaccinated and others don't trust it, and there's others who say masks work and don't work. So we're always divided. So it's always going to be, I think it was a really smart way of portraying what would happen in our world today if Superman did arrive. And he himself would have doubts because he would not automatically be embraced. So he would be like, should I, shouldn't I? Either, is it the right thing to do? I don't know what my place is. I can understand Zack Snyder coming from that angle for the story. So I was a big fan of Henry Cavill and would like to see him continue on in the role. I didn't necessarily like that the second movie brought in Batman. We've got enough Batman in the world. Come on, let Superman have his own sequel. So I was kind of a little bit disappointed in that we automatically went straight to Batman and Wonder Woman for Superman's second outing. And then, there was a whole controversy with Justice League and Zack Snyder's Justice League. This will be a little bit controversial for a lot of people. I actually preferred the Superman that was portrayed in Joss Whedon's Justice League than the Superman that we got in Zack Snyder's Justice League, because Superman isn't Batman. He doesn't need to be dark and brooding and black and silver. And I understand the regeneration suit from the comic book Return of Superman when he came back from the dead. It had a purpose. The only purpose of having him in the black costume in Zack Snyder's Justice League was because Zack Snyder thought it looked cool. It didn't really serve any purpose. It wasn't a regeneration suit. It didn't help him with his powers. It didn't do anything other than, so I can understand that they put it in there because it looked cool. My problem with Zack Snyder's Justice League at the end was when they do the shirt rip, it's still the black and silver version. It's like, when is he ever going back to his red and blue? He's supposed to be the brighter, he's come back, he's happy now, So for me, I just thought the Joss Whedon version of Superman that Henry Cavill played in Zack Snyder, in Justice League, in that theatrical version, was a little bit brighter and more uplifting. And that's the Superman that I want to see.
Yeah. I'm just like you on that part, because I like the big blue and red costume, and of course, I guess he answered to a lot of fans who were waiting. There are some fans like photoshopping the suit with Henry Cavill with a beard, with the black suit. I guess he wanted to please those fans, and as you said, but Zack Snyder is just like us. He likes comics, but this part should have been explained, like the regenerating suit, and as you said, there was no purpose about it. I felt just like you. Even I really hate the Josh Whedon movie, the Wall movie, but it was cool to see Superman in blue and red.
Yes,
so I'm agree with that. You just
I'll set the record straight. Zack Snyder's Justice League was a better movie than the theatrical version, but the Superman that was portrayed, I think, was a little bit more uplifting and brighter in the theatrical version.
Yes, true. But I guess Zack Snyder playing to have this Superman like more heroic, more like the Superman we like. We are hardcore fan of Superman, but when we want to see Superman, we want to see him like blue and red. So
Yeah.
I was so pleased by Zack Snyder Justice League movie, that okay, I said okay, I'm forgiving. I'm forgiving that. But I see exactly what you said, and it's leading us to the next question. Right now, it seems that Henry Cavill is talking about uh, going back as Superman, as he said, as you said earlier. Um, Batman v Superman were more like Batman movie than Superman movie. It was like a Batman perspective. It wasn't like a movie about Superman. Like it was a movie about Batman seeing Superman destroying everything in the world and in Metropolis. So Matthew Vaughn just said that he still thinks there's a room for a new Superman film, but a proper Superman film, a colorful, fun Superman movie, not a dark one. I feel like he's like a little bit attacking Zack Snyder vision of Superman, and there is a fight between fans all over the world saying, "Oh, I have this fan saying it was funny. I will just read it for you. Superman is supposed to be a DC Captain America. I hate when they reference like MCU. I could kill them. Kind of a doof, really naive but pure of earth, not some Dark Knight wannabe. Get that shit out of my Superman movie. And when I'm talking to fans of Superman in France, there is always this, collective mind thinking about Superman like a boy scout, like a boring superhero, like old fashioned, you know?
Mm.
And that's why I loved Man of Steel, because Zack Snyder brought like an alien, like he brought like a Superman that could be strong, that could be twisted, the Superman that we were supposed to see in Justice League 2 and 3, where like the injustice Superman, like getting evil because of Darkseid, all this stuff. What do you think about that? What is the best Superman we can have? Like, is it now with this new generation? Because they are complaining in the way that Superman is too powerful. Sometimes they are complaining that in Man of Steel, he snapped the neck of Zod, and at the same time they're watching Jap animation like Dragon Ball Z that everyone is killing everyone. So sometimes I don't get the fans. It seems like they are never happy. Yeah, I know, because I've been on your forum for a long time, that fans are never happy. They complain about like Superman Returns. There is not enough action. Now in Man of Steel, there is too much action. So what do you think about this phenomenon? And we will ever have like a it's hard to say it in English. Consensual Superman for everyone.
I don't think we ever will. It's the way of the world. Especially with the internet, you will never have. You can the old saying, you can never please all of the people all of the time. It's impossible. You're always going to have someone complaining about something, whether he's got no spit curl on his hair, his S is too small, his cape is too long, it's not red enough, it's not blue enough, he's not muscly enough. There's always going to be someone complaining about some aspect of the character. So we're never going to be able to please everybody. For me, that's what we. It's disappointing that we see a lot of division amongst the fans, because we see a lot of bickering and we see a lot of fighting and we see people attacking one another when there should be coming together, and that's what Superman's all about, being accepting. But if everybody agreed on everything, it would be pretty boring. So I understand that there's always going to be some differences of opinion, and that's normal. That's what we want. For me, I'm tired of the Superman turning evil, or being corruptible,
Me
or
too. Me too.
we've seen it with Injustice, we've seen it with with even in Justice League, with Izzy Norm, Izzy his old self, he fights the Justice League until Lois sees him, and he comes back to his senses, kind of thing. There's just that whole element of always wanting to turn Superman dark, and that he cannot be the Boy Scout. But being a Boy Scout and being good and pure doesn't necessarily equate to being boring. You know, too many people say that just because Superman's good and that he fights for truth and justice and that he's, here to save everyone and wants to help everybody. What's wrong with that? There's nothing. It doesn't have to be an edgy element or a darker element to the character. It's what makes me a Superman fan. I don't want to relate to Superman. I want to be inspired by Superman. I want him to be a pinnacle that we want to try to achieve to be. He shouldn't be like every other superhero. He should be above them. He should be something that they aspire to be like. So for me, people say, oh, Superman's not relatable. Who says he has to be relatable?
True.
He should be somebody that is something that is an inspiration, a goal for us to achieve. He's been likened in many ways to, Jesus or to Moses, these mythological, biblical figures where, they are, something to aspire to be like. And so I don't think that just because Superman is good and does the right thing because it's the right thing to do, that's necessarily boring. For a lot of people, it's why we love Superman.
True. I'm totally agree with you. It was good in a way that they portrayed him like, okay, he can snap anytime. If it snaps, we are in trouble, but not all the time. It was like some redundant sometimes. So yeah, I'm so agree with you. Even in the video game in Injustice, there is a time they are going to go to another multiverse and bring back a good Superman. So I guess it's good for a little bit period of time. It could have been nice in Justice League 2 and 3 to see it and going back to its sense and saving the day as always. But I'm totally agree with you. But
because
as you,
for me, sorry, just to quickly interrupt there, Man of Steel had that whole element of doubting him, of is he who should he be somebody we trust, and then we see the soldiers saying this man is not our enemy, and so we had that whole thing. And then in Batman v Superman, we had the whole mistrust with Batman not trusting him. And then he came around and said, no, I did the wrong thing. He should be who, he's what we need. And then in Justice League, is he when he comes back from the dead, is he bad? Is he good? So in every movie of those three films, we've had an element of doubt about Superman's, persona, about his character. So if we continue that in any more sequels of Justice League, whatever, it's just like, how many times does this guy have to prove himself?
True. Yeah. Even in the TV show Superman and Lois, which is good, by the way, it's really good. I was really surprised. They have this between the army and Superman, like he always have to prove himself to the army and to General Lane and all those stuff. So yeah, I see what you mean. Okay, as you tricked me with the first question because you're smart. What will be your perfect portrait of Superman?
Okay, for me, I would still like to see Henry Cavill getting a chance to play the role, because in the interviews that he's been doing of late to promote the second season of The Witcher on Netflix, he's been saying all the right things to me. It's like there are so many stories to tell about Superman that have not been told in his version of the character. I would like to see a action adventure film that the whole family can go and see. I want to see a movie that is, not in the spirit, not in the way that, say, Indiana Jones or those type of movies were made, but in that spirit of being fun, having humor, but being a lot of action and drama and what have you. But something that the whole family can see, that you can, mum and dad can take their kids to see, because Superman is, while he's become more of a mature character for an older generation, films like the upcoming DC League of Super Pets with Dwayne Johnson voicing the role of Krypto is going to open up the world of Superman to a whole new generation of kids. And so let's allow there to be a movie where younger kids can go along to see Superman be the character that for 80 plus years he has been, for a character that is for everybody. So for me, I'm more, okay, we've done the mature thing, we've done the adult thing. Let's have more of a family-orientated action-adventure film for Superman.
True. It could be like this for the Superman movies, and then when he's joining the Justice League for a bigger purpose, it can be more adult and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm totally agree with you. But I have been always agree with you all over the years, so it won't change today. So thank you very much, Steve. It was such an honor. I won't take more of your time. I will just say bye to my French audience in France. So voilà, c'était Steve Younis. Il était avec nous. C'est vraiment un honneur pour moi de l'avoir eu. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I hope we could do that more often. Like maybe I will, because this one is for my my documentary, so that it was a little bit oriented. So if someday we can talk like more of Superman, it would be a pleasure.
Fantastic. No, I appreciate it, and thank you once again for inviting me to come on.